bio-based dyes, and you're going to tell us about your technology, please.
It's just a pigment or dye, so it can be used for any type of industry. With the chemistry, the microorganism is fed a certain feedstock, and that makes it produce this color via synthetic pathway inside of it. It's just programmed to make it, just like we're programmed to make hair, it's programmed to just make colors. You know that movie Inside Out? These characters in your mind, they're your conscience, and they're all colorful and all have different personalities. We're working with these little micro characters that work around us every day and make things. So these ones are making color, for example, and we're teaching them how to make the colors very efficiently and how to make them so that they bind really well to textiles.
You're listening to Bite-Sized Climate Tech, Season 4. Let's dive in.
Time to make climate cool again.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Lydia.
Welcome to the show. This is Bite-Sized Climate Tech Season 4. And today I'm very happy because I have the great scientist and founder of this company, New Era, with us, Lucy. Lucy has been a scientist and a researcher in the biology, biochemistry. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much,
Lucy.
Lydia.
If you want to add something about yourself and your company as well.
Sure, yeah. So as you said, I'm a microbiologist. I've been studying microbiology for over 15 years. I started the company with my co-founder. We were working with microorganisms that can eat plastic waste. We saw beautiful colors on our plates, and it inspired us to look into where color is used in our everyday lives. That's where we saw our clothing uses color all the time, but we don't really realize where it's from. And when we realized it's from fossil fuel industry, so we're using fossil fuels to make our dyes, that was quite shocking to us. So we got really inspired to change this up and use microorganisms, use life to make color.
That's why we have this very important topic today to talk about, which is bio-based dyes. And you're going to tell us about your technology.
So we use microorganisms to brew colors, so much like we use fungi and yeast and bacteria to make bread and beer and wine. We're using them instead to produce colors, and we extract them out of the microorganism, and it comes out as a dye powder. And this can be used in the textile mills that dye our clothing, and they can use it just like they use synthetic fossil fuel-based dyes in the same way. It's really easy. They can just plug it into their system and use our dyes. But in order to help them stick better, we also use our technology to improve that fiber binding ability, because a lot of bio-based and plant-based dyes are not good at sticking to fabrics, and they fade out and wash off quite quickly. So we want to make them work just as well as the synthetic dyes.
This is an off-topic question. I have a guest on my podcast. He talks about nature co-design, and he's like, a lot of our makeups, those are synthetic. First, not good for the planet, and second, not good for us, I guess.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He said that you can actually take the color at the back of butterfly wings.
Have you ever touched butterfly wings? Wherever you touch it, the color disappears. Now imagine if you can stabilize that color.
I don't know how relevant is that. I guess it's also part of the nature co-design, just out of curiosity, because I'm not very good at chemistry since the beginning of my age. Is that the micro bacteria that already have the color, or you need to do something so it shows the color? And very interesting, you told me that it's actually the bio-based dyes that you guys created 3 colors as a base, right? And then out of those 3 colors, people can create more colors.
Yeah, and what we're doing can certainly be applied to makeup as well, or nail polish. It's just a pigment or dye, so it can be used for any type of industry. With the chemistry, the microorganism is fed a certain feedstock, and that makes it produce this color via a synthetic pathway inside of it. It's just programmed to make it, just like we're programmed to make hair, it's programmed to just make colors. Essentially, we then are able to make different colors in different microorganisms. One of them will produce a red, the other one will produce a yellow, and another will produce a blue. And then we can take those colors and mix them to make more colors. We can mix the red and the yellow to make an orange, and the blue and the red to make a purple, yellow and the blue to make a green, and then all 3 to make brown. So we can really expand the color range just by having that 3 colors as the base.
This is amazing. How long does it take to produce those?
So microorganisms grow very rapidly. We can produce thousands of liters within a day of growing. It's a very quick process, and it's very easy to scale vertically, so it doesn't take up as much land as, for example, plant-based dyes. It's a very eco-friendly way to produce colors.
The companies who you're partnered with, are they already producing colors on clothes or anything?
Yeah, we actually have dyed our own clothes with our own dyes. We can produce enough to dye clothing already. We're just in the process of getting into the textile mill and working out how it works at the industrial levels. It's
Nice.
getting
I'm looking
to
forward
that
to get
exciting
a
stage.
sample.
Yeah.
Yeah, next time we can show it on the show.
How would you explain this to an 8-year-old?
Yes. So essentially, we're working with these little micro characters. You know that movie Inside Out? These characters in your mind, they're your conscience and they're all colorful and all have different personalities. We're working with these little micro characters that work around us every day and make things. So these ones are making color, for example, and we're teaching them how to make the colors very efficiently and how to make them so that they bind really well to textiles. And we can even program them to make them be, anti-UV, so protect you from the sun or protect you from germs, from infections.
It's just like the movie Inside Out. They can also help us, protect us, even without us knowing they exist.
Exactly. They're our little invisible friends.
Invisible friends from your company's factory. You're going to answer a question from a previous guest.
How are we going to get children to become more interested in science and technology so that they can become the scientists and engineers of the future who are going to continue to build systems to help with the climate crisis?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've participated previously in Science Week at the museum where we had this sensorial experience for kids that came by, and we had a microscope so they could view pond water and see all the different microorganisms growing in that. They could smell the different foods that use microbes, like blue cheese versus sourdough bread starter and beer and wine. Just interacting and seeing the invisible world of science is the best way to get kids excited about it. When I was a kid, I also had a little mini microscope my parents bought for me, and I would get so excited just to go out and pick grass or sand and even look at my hair under the microscope and see what it looks like. So I think just being able to see the invisible and understand how little things work is really exciting for kids.
Yeah, pique their interest when they're kids. Unfortunately, I didn't become a scientist. I hope I can use this podcast to inspire other people to come into the field.
Absolutely. And it's never too late to learn, right? So
That's why I love these conversations, especially
Yeah.
when I talk to people like yourself. We actually get down to the basics of it's simple to understand. It's just little microscopic characters who have different characteristics, and then we use it to help us in everyday life. Can you leave a question for the
Exactly.
next guest?
For the next guest, I would ask, what strategies are you using to overcome any challenges getting your climate tech solution out there? Because every climate tech solution is really groundbreaking, but it also comes with a lot of resistance. The question is, how do you face those challenges and overcome them?
Do you face any resistance?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest resistance is the system is so used to using fossil fuel dyes and they're very cheap. So it's really difficult to compete with these very cheap dyes that are out there already. So the biggest challenge for us is to make it as cheap and make it maybe not as cheap, but more functional. So bringing in those like antimicrobial properties or anti-UV properties to give it an extra value beyond just being bio-based is really important for us.
We all want the day that all the better solutions compared to fossil fuel based solutions can come down to price parity in the future, so we can all use better products. Why did you start to work in climate?
So I was visiting a copper mine in Chile, and they were using bioremediation for the acid mine drainage. Just being in this really beautiful setting and seeing how it's possible to use microbes to help us with everyday things like making nature cleaner. It just inspired me to use microorganisms for the same purpose. I looked into labs around the world that can basically convert waste into energy, and that's when I stumbled on this new field of microbial fuel cells, and that brought me all the way to Australia to study that. Ever since then, I've been so passionate about using microbes to solve industrial problems and clean up our world.
You shared that in your earliest childhood, your family brought you this microscope, and that possibly was the origin story of why you wanted to start working.
That's true. We can go as far back as that because
Yes.
just seeing the power of nature and what it can do, it's quite beautiful.
We have a closing tradition. You're going to leave one sentence of hope for our audience.
It's usually longer than a sentence, but I guess what I could say is for every climate problem you see out there, there's a whole army of scientists and engineers looking for a solution that can solve this problem with clean tech. Let's
Let's
make
Make climate cool again.
cool again.